Hi everyone, it's Booney. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe and give this video a like. You'll get content updates on things related to personality, typology, consuming mental health, and personal development. I'm going to repeat some of these things that I've posted a long time ago because I think it's so important to reiterate, because really change is just a constant cycle of becoming, and so we just need reminders of the things that we're doing are correct and we're on the right path. So I posted this thing, a quote from Beatrice Chestnut on my Instagram, and I'm going to read it. The four's resonance, so Enneagram 4. The four's resonance with the shadow can also be seen in the fact that they have a natural gift for understanding the deeper emotional level of experience and seeing the beauty in darker emotions that other types would rather not feel, much less acknowledge. This can make them feel dangerous to others on an unconscious level, as fours may raise the issue of authentic emotions that others would often rather not deal with. So, and this is from the Complete Enneagram, page 268 by Beatrice Chestnut. So, I've paired this sense of, danger, emotional danger, and reflecting as a mirror for introverted feeling. I pair it mostly with FI. But in general, if you use the different typology systems, yes, Enneagram 4 is we have a thing with seeking depth of possibility and identity, and that also means to embrace the pain and darkness, sadness, the things that we can be and have done that are harmful, dangerous. It's all beautiful because it's all authentic and all us. And so when we just present ourselves in this painful, sensitive way, people are so threatened by this vulnerability and emotion because they haven't tapped into it themselves. And so this is this constant struggle of identity and having a sense of being accepted and seen. Accepted is the big part here, because in society we strive for survival. We want people to be strong in a certain way, but not emotionally strong and vulnerable, because that means you do have to fall apart and be weak, and that doesn't mean the collective can strive and survive, because you always have to constantly push your pain inside. You can't deal with this stuff if we're hustling. We can't deal with the pain of our childhoods and a questioning existentialism and a purpose of identity when we're trying to make ends meet. That doesn't work. And so this constant backwards living of intuitive feelers, mostly idealists, I think, we tend to search for our sense of identity very early on. We want to know what this life is made for. Why are we here? I think intuitive rationals do it too, in their own way, but I'm going to be speaking mostly to NFs, okay? So if you're Enneagram 4 NF, strong FI user, this is for you, because we need to be seen and validated, heard, accepted. And if you do resonate and you're not one of the types that I mentioned, this is for you too, of course, but again, I speak to my people, my communities, and so when you are born sensitive, when you're born with this ability to, again, it's not good or bad to feel pain. It's not good or bad that we're gonna die. It just is gonna happen, right? It's not good or bad that people in our lives, succumb to things. It does suck, it's painful, and again, it's all part of the whole experience of existence on this planet, right? And so when we come to that understanding that things just are, and the pain is a visceral thing that happens in our bodies, in our psyches, in our hearts, everything, it's a full experience and it's deep, right? Because it's a reason for, it's not a reason, it's a mirroring of my identity. I exist because I feel pain. I exist because these emotions tell me what is valuable to me, my core ethics, my values, what am I achieving and aiming for in this lifespan, right? And so when we do this so naturally, again, authentically, most people don't have that radar, that preference. The preference is not there. That's one of the main terms you think of when you talk about typology. We have a different set of cognitive preferences, and the same goes for our value systems and how we deal with emotions or not. And when I think about the terms of consciousness and unconscious stuff, feeling emotion and different experiences allowed in your, vast range of experiences that you're allowing yourself to have, that's like the trigger that FI users and Enneagram 4 people continually do to people of different preferences. And again, this is not good or bad, but when you come through the lens of archetypes and personal development, this is a way for people to grow. One thing is like, instead of FI users or Enneagram 4 people constantly chasing that validation, look, I'm feeling this depth of pain. Validate me, acknowledge that I am in pain and I am worthy when I'm going through my pain. Because most of the time, when we haven't delved into our shadow or enough of this, honoring the unconscious stuff that we have, that other people are separate from who we are, we get enmeshed. We take other people's stuff as our own and we think, oh God, that person's going through this pain. It's uncomfortable for me, right? So simple projection stuff, right? Like, I don't want to deal with this pain. They're dealing with it, and I'm going to equate it to being wrong because uncomfortable emotions is dangerous for my psyche because I'm not there. So they're going to be perceived as the bad guy. They're going to be perceived as the enemy of my story. I'm going to hyper focus on them and the stuff that they're doing incorrectly. They're so sensitive. They're feeling too much. They're breaking down at things that happening, right? But it's legitimate emotion. Really, like, when you think about it, if you could take a step back and look at it from like thinking about a toddler or someone having a tantrum, if you just let someone go through that process of getting the emotion to flow through their body, they'll finish. But what we do instead is we gaslight people who are feeling emotions. We gaslight people who are trying to feel understood because their process is just different. Again, different's not bad, but they deal with cognition and energy and emotion in a different order. The sequence is different. Like some people deal with things more rationally inclined first. Some people deal with the body. They need to move things to sort and find answers. And some people feel first. And so like when we have this understanding of difference, that's why typology and archetypes can be so powerful, affirming, validating, freeing. You realize that people do things differently. And again, that's not good or bad, but we don't remember that. We get stuck in our own tunnel vision of my way is the only way that other people think of as the correct way. It has to be, because if it's not correct, your mind's gonna get blown and things are gonna like shift. Cognitive shifts happen. You're just uncomfortable again. All this stuff in your mind, it starts becoming super uncomfortable and you can't have that. So you're going to double down on what you think the world is supposed to be like. And so when other people challenge that by the way they feel too intensely or differently, that's again the enemy to my inner peace. It's the enemy of my constant stagnation. We are constantly changing, we're constantly flowing, but if we see someone who's doing something intensely, emotionally, compared to our negative feeling or suppressing of emotions and like disregarding it, because again, emotion is perceived as dangerous, which is not. It's actually it's a good radar to actually see who's safe, how you feel in your skin, like if a moment is joyful or not. If you're gonna want to feel good feelings, the price you pay for that is to feel deep negative feelings too. Like that's the balance. That's the part of wholeness that we reject. And it's imbalance. We're constantly imbalanced because we only want one and not the other. That's kind of greedy, right? So if you want to take the pure joy of awe and love, happiness, success, feeling triumphant, that comes along with the other side of it, the shadow, or the balance of it all. Like it's two sides of the same coin, right? They're the same thing. They're both intense feelings, but one has this perception that we put on it that it's bad and shameful and shouldn't be experienced. And so that's how we sabotage ourselves. When you're around someone who's authentically feeling these feelings, because life is a struggle, and they're feeling and seeing the bigger picture of like all this suffering in the world, that's a good way to integrate for yourself. What am I not feeling in my life, in my body? what are the moments in my life that I have not honored? And again, it's your own personal definition and shaping of how much you want to feel. I'm not asking you to feel as deeply or as much as as intuitive feeler or Enneagram 4 who falls apart, when they see like a beautiful puppy commercial on TV, those like adoption of donating to all those organizations who have like all those poor animals and things like that, like, and all the other terrible things that are happening around the world. I'm not asking you to fall apart and cry and like, to prove that you can feel. That's not the point. The point is to acknowledge that this part of your psyche is not being honored, and to start walking into that, very slowly start examining what's around here. Like, I have this thick wall in between me and what I can be. And so when I don't tap into this other side, I get triggered. Other people who have tapped into the other side make me feel uncomfortable and vulnerable, and I don't want to feel vulnerable. That's dangerous. I need to survive and be strong and push through and repress all this stuff. And so when that happens, again, focus on yourself instead of the things that other people are doing, because their feeling and their emotion has no weight on you, as long as they're doing it in a respectful way. Like, I know some people, FI users, Enneagram 4, we can be whiny. We can be codependent. We can be in a way that's like seeking and chasing. Validate me. Look at me. Look how pained I am. Look how depressed I am. Like, this, my identity, right? And so that is also the work of that individual person. For you to have someone around you to do that, be like, that's not mine. I'm not going to take that. I see that you're in pain, but it's not mine to deal with. That's yours. I acknowledge and honor. I have compassion. That's what people are seeking. That's all that people are really seeking when they're in the realms of like being a vulnerable, sensitive person. The one thing that would heal so much and reduce escalation and conflict is compassion and acknowledgement. I can see that you're sad for this reason. Inside you could be like, I don't understand why you're this sad. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. But to this person, with their sensitivity and their ability to feel deeply, that makes sense that they're sad. And this is what, maybe they just need a little bit of acknowledgement that they're going through a hard time. That's it, And then again, to be able to acknowledge that, that's a lot of work personally, if you're unable to do it in the first place, right? And so we're growing, we're constantly growing, we're challenging ourselves to expand how we can be. And when you're expanding on who you are, you have this sense of flow in between possibility, and that other people's stuff will not trigger you as much. You're not going to be projecting as much. You're not going to be feeling like other people is like living life incorrectly and that you need to fix it, or you need to like berate them in some way, or you need to like in a angry venting session message them and tell them you're ruining your life or feeling so much or doing things just because you have a feeling that you need to do it. Like, this living authentically stuff is like, it's bullshit, it's not. It's, everyone has their own path, but if you keep on approaching people in that way, that kind of creates, divides in trust, divides in connection, and then people don't know where to go. They don't trust to fully be authentic around certain people. And so, like, again, all the FI people or Enneagram 4 people are trying to do is like, where can I be safe to be vulnerable and gentle? Because this world is a harsh place for gentle people, right? And so it's this constant questioning and searching of like, I need safety. I don't need to always mask in society. I don't want to always mask in society, but we have to, because when people find out you're soft, a lot of people want to manipulate. There's all these archetypes around, right? We have different parts of us that come out. It's like, ooh, this person's soft. I'm going to see if I can manipulate them. And it's not always intentional, but like some people are experimenting, some people are curious. It's like, how far can I push this person? Because it looks like they don't have a backbone, And so as you're a sensitive person, that's the reality of your personal work too, to look at that stuff. Like, are you being manipulated by people? Are you allowing yourself to just be dragged through life because you don't have a voice to stand up for yourself, And this, I'm not saying that this is a good thing that's happening. Of course not. It's like, people do take advantage. People are manipulative. People have power and control issues. they will look and target at people who are soft and sensitive. It's like, well, you're empathic, you're kind. Like, yeah, and you can be both. We have this range of possibility that's beautiful. And there's this thing about like quiet confidence that people don't always know that's a thing, right? But then there's this thing about this quote of it's always the quiet people, right? You never know what's going on because like you don't show all your cards. That's the possibility, and you can do that if you're a quiet, sensitive person. If you're a gentle person who's been that doormat for years that people have been taking advantage of, and you seek that identity validation through giving too much of who you are because you want to be accepted, then that's your personal work to accept as well and figure out, how can I be more than this? I can give when I want to, but not because I'm seeking validation from other people, right? I can be gentle and sensitive, and at the same time, I can be firm in my identity and speak my boundaries. I can tell people what my limits are and really speak to that and be honest with that. But you got to know what your boundaries are, right? Sometimes we don't because we've lost ourselves. People have been taking so much from us for forever that we think that this is the only way to be. And at the same time, when you have these things click, come together, you realize that maybe you're tired of being this way and it's time to change something. But you don't know where to start, right? So just question what you have to identify what your patterns are. Number one, what are your archetypal patterns? Through Enneagram or Myers-Briggs, whatever typology system you're using, what's the pattern? Am I swinging too far in an extreme way of behaving? What's the opposite? Have I done the opposite? Am I going to swing to the opposite because I think that's what I need to do to change? Yes and no. If you do that, examine that stage of change you're at. Are you going to swing and figure out what's in the middle for you? Because we swing. That's change. Change processes constantly back and forth, back and forth. We get stuck when we stay on one side of the opposite and think we're supposed to stay there. You are not supposed to stay in an opposite way of being. But I see a lot of people doing, something happens in life, they realize they want to change, they swing to the opposite. That's kind of like going into your shadow. You're not supposed to stay there forever. You go in your shadow, you dive in, you look around, you acknowledge and honor, lovingly accept and see parts of your darkness, right? Shed light on it. Go there for a while, come back up for air, reconsolidate all this stuff. It's new now. You're kind of like, what did I call it? You know how there's a fog of war in a video game? When you go into the map and you explore, the map gets more revealed. You're revealing more maps of who you are. So that's unconscious work, right? You're going into yourself. You're seeing the things that have been unconsciously poked at, triggered, repressed. And when you acknowledge it, take some of that with you, bring it back up for air, package it nice and neat if you can, but that's more of who you are. It's like the map got bigger. You're not just like this isolated small thing that has been created for survival or validation or acceptance, whatever it is. You can be more. But that does involve this intention of so many things, tracking your patterns. What's the past patterns like? Do you want to keep it? Yes or no? You can change it completely. Were you acting in a way to please other people? Were these rules from your family system, your family of origin, influential people who shaped you and inspired you in a certain way, but maybe you don't want to keep it forever. Maybe you want to keep a little piece of it and then try something else. That's the beauty, again, possibility. What else do you want to do? And again, when you're in this stage of reflecting and diving into your unconscious, are there people who can safely see you? Because we're practicing something different. You spent a whole lifetime behaving a certain way, so now you want to try something new. Who is a safe person that is going to be just like, I see you. I see you're trying something different. This is what I observe. This is what I see. Does it feel right for you? You need a friend to do that. You need someone who cares. And that's why coaching and therapy can be helpful if you don't have that. But also you can do it with yourself. I believe you can. But again, there's an important time and place to be honored through interpersonal experiences. And so when you're doing that, it's like protection. You need to protect yourself while you're trying on the new hats, the identities, exploring shadows and unconscious stuff. people will sabotage, just like, you can watch my Bowen Family Systems videos where people try to force you back into homeostasis. The system is powerful, and people will have to adjust when you adjust too. The closest people to you do not want to change yet, or they're not ready. They will try and sabotage your change. So look out for that as well. But acknowledge that it's their stuff coming out. So again, find a way to protect your growth. Find a way to do it in a way where when you're strong enough, like when you have a firm enough conviction in your new identity, the transformation that you're going through, you can deal more with the projections and the sabotage that will happen from people around you. And it's not consciously that they're doing it. It just happens because we are our own humans. We have this sense of self and identity, and it's very reflective in our interpersonal relationships. If this person is changing, what is my role now? And for people who are not Enneagram 4 or FI users, they're not constantly asking, what is my life purpose? Who am I? That's the tendency, right? And so when we're constantly wanting to evolve and change and do stuff, and a reflection of authenticity and like my true essence and like how people perceive me, when other people around us don't always do that, it's jarring. And so our constant wants to transform over and over and over again. That's jarring to people who like, I like comfort, I like staying the same. This one person in my life keeps on changing. They're kind of being weird for that. But like, it's uncomfortable for me. Why do you want to change so much? So like, every time you change and transform and experience deep emotions, whether it's like pain or joy, they feel like it's too much, and it goes into their inner world, and it's uncomfortable for them. So like, again, it's this constant reflection and analysis of your relationship with other people, but while you're identifying your own patterns. So it's a constant, like, it's always like mapping things out, and the energy between you, your processes, and how other people receive you or not. Is it this, like, is it judgment? Is it rejection? It's all this stuff of, like, again, safety to be who you are. And when you feel, again, that foundation of you is strong enough, you can be in spaces where other people don't really, quote unquote, get it. They might be judging you, they might be telling you you're doing it wrong. But again, when your foundation is strong enough, you will not waver in the judgment of other people and their shadow stuff. So that is just my support and encouragement for my FI users, Enneagram 4 people, other people who do constant leanings towards transformation work and inner work. I'm in your corner. I believe in you. You got this. Just some reminders from this video. So thanks for watching, everyone. If you appreciate my channel, please give this video a like and share and comment, again, to build community. I appreciate you, and thank you so much for watching.